Hey guys, we're at the reloading bench today, and I wanted to take a minute and talk about the World War II Japanese Type 26 revolver, which uses a very oddball round. It's the 9x22R. So that ammo is extremely difficult to find, and if you're lucky enough to find it, it's quite pricey. So if you've got one of these old war horses and you want to shoot it on the cheap, here is one way that you can do that. Most guys will start off modifying a 38 Smith & Wesson case. Those cases are about 80 or 90 thousandths. I forget exactly how much. They're too short. So it'll work. In my case, it doesn't really matter because I don't have an abundance of those cases anyhow. So the next best option is to take a regular 38 special case. We're going to have to shorten that case, and the other thing we'll need to do is narrow that rim, and then it's really as simple as that. So the point of our video is to show you just a couple of easy ways to do that. Obviously, you can shorten them on a case trimmer. I opted not to do that because I do have access to a lathe. So what I ended up doing is I made a little bushing just to make things easy, and that lets you deal with that rim. And I have a collet with a collet stop. So once you dial that in on your lathe, parting them off is very, very fast. And having the bushing, you don't have to change your setup. You can just flip it over and take your parting tool or whatever your favorite cutter is, and you can narrow the rim that way. So that's very fast. That will get you brass quickly. There are a couple of tricks, though, that I'd like to share with you that might make your path a little bit easier. So the rim thickness on the 9x22R, according to all the resources I have, is 30 thousandths. And that is not a lot. What you'll find out is occasionally with such a thin rim, you can sometimes run into problems priming them. You'll put a little kink in that rim. It's just kind of a pain. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, being so thin. So what I'll end up doing is I'll run these a little bit thick because there's some tolerance there, but I'll run them 35 thousandths just to help out some. And then the other thing is I made a little washer. Okay. So, and I'll give you some dimensions on all this stuff later, but make a little washer, and you can take that washer and, oops, in my case, I'm using a 45 auto rim shell holder. And that's because it allows me the extra thickness I use for the washer. So now you can run that, prime it, and have zero problems. So it's just pretty much that simple. And once you do that, you're pretty much using standard reloading processes, other than you probably don't have those dies. Well, at least I don't. So going over to our press, what I ended up doing is I sized the case using a regular 38 special sizer die, but then I expanded it and belled it using a 38 Smith & Wesson die, as did I use for the seating of the bullet as well. Now, to save myself from grief from having to constantly reset up my dies, I made an 87 thousandths, I think. Yeah, 87 thousandths thick washer. And I can space that under my 38 Smith & Wesson die, and I'd have to change any of the settings. So with that spacer in there, you can see we're still getting a good crimp, and I don't have to reset anything up every time I go to reload them. So it's a nicety. It's not a necessity, much like the primer ring. It's a nicety, but not a necessity. So that is really as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated. And just for your review, here's some dimensions that I used for the parts that I made. Obviously, you can tailor this stuff to the parts you're trying to match. And again, just for your convenience, here's some dimensions that we're using. These are right offline for the different numbers, but it really is that simple, and hopefully you will get your war horse out and have some fun. I'll see you later, guys.